Welcome to OG MOTO. Today we're going to go over the new to me 2018 KTM 500 EXC-f and all the parts and pieces that I put on it. In an earlier video I went over all the parts that I was going to put on it, and here it is with all the parts on it. So we'll start at the wheels, or we'll start at the tires. So the tires, since I was spending so much money on all the parts and pieces for this thing, I went a little cheap on the tires. I've never tried these Aerotracks. So I tried these Aerotracks, the XC Enduros. And while the front tire is okay, it's a very common tread pattern. The rear tire leaves a little to be desired. And we'll go over that here when we get back there. So we got the Aerotracks front tire. And then I went with some cheaper, completely laced up wheels, a wheel set. So I got a front and back wheels, all laced up, bearings, and dust seal for 450 bucks. Now, they are not a Warp 9. They're not a Excel 860 rim. These are called a KKE rim. So whoever makes it, well, I know who makes this rim. Who makes this rim is a company called GLM, which is a subsidiary of Giant Bicycles. So Giant Bicycles makes the rim. KKE just puts their name on the, on the outside of the rim. I stuck a rotor on there, and installed them. How good they're going to be longevity wise, time will only tell. So we'll put it through the paces, and we'll see how long these things last. Maybe we have to go to an Excel, maybe or Warp 9 or something, but those are pretty expensive. So we'll see how these hold up. Coming up here, we went with the Moto fork wrap LED turn signals. These are really cool. They're out of the way. Instead of the turn signals hanging off of your mask here, they're tied in really nice here and slimline. You can run them either with as a running light on all the time, and then they get brighter when you turn the left and right turn signal on. Or you can run them the way I do, where they're not on, they only come on when you do a turn signal left or right. Had those on the 350, love them. Then I went with a R5, a Ruby R5 headlight. So Ruby and Moto Minded joined forces and came up with this design. It allows me to move the headlight if I need to on the fly. Ruby makes a R4, an R5, and an R7. R4, I believe, is just I don't remember if it's round. I think it's square in a Moto Minded mounting bracket. Then they got the R5 like I got, and then they have the R7. These things are super bright. They got flood and beam lights on here. Work really well. And then we'll see here in a little bit, I've got a switch up here so I can turn it off. I can go low beam and I can go high beam. So really like those. Molecule flag style handguards. Now, I've always ran on all my bikes the wraparound style. And this is the first flag style that I've owned. So we'll see. So far, I like them. I took one little digger on the other side, and I mean, they didn't move. They didn't break any levers. So we'll see how they work over time. But I'm liking them so far. Let's see. Then if we come up to the cockpit, so we were talking about that switch for the headlights and turn signals. Sickass makes this. It's a slimline multi-switch. It's got the horn, turn signals, and then it's got off, low, and high beam for your lights. Unlike the stock, you can't turn off your headlight for whatever reason. You can't turn it off. This switch allows you to turn it off if you need to. I've got this mirror, which is the double take trail mirror. And basically I have this so I can check the camera when it's mounted to my helmet and see if it's recording or not. There's nothing worse than coming back from a ride and you think you've got some killer footage and you turn the camera off instead of on. And I don't have to have somebody look at it to tell me if the red light's flashing. So that's what we went with there. Then here I went with a moto minded dash, and it's got USB, 2 USBs here, and it comes with it comes with 4 holes, 2 bigger holes, one for a key, one for the USB, and then these 2 holes to put whatever. I put a switch in here. It's a kill switch, and then this switch just turns on power to the USB. The kill switch, I removed the key, so this doesn't have a key. This bike does not have a key, so I can just start it and it'll take off. I don't want just anybody being able to get onto the bike and take off, so I put a kill switch in here that when I get wherever I'm going and I walk away from the bike, I depress this and it basically kills the ignition. Get ready to take off, you release that and you can fire it up and take off. How safe is it? I mean, you know, it works for me. Then as far as the dash or the GPS or phone or whatever, I went with an Android phone. Let's see if I can get it to come on here. Yeah, I went with an Android phone and opposed to like a Trail Tech or anything like that. I like it. I have a Trail Tech on my 300, and while it's nice, it just doesn't work for me. So here we've got, this is my home screen. It's got all of the different maps that I use, and it's also got a heads-up display for like my what would you call it, the speedometer and things like that. It's got mileage and time and all that good stuff. And then when I want to go to a map, I've got my map and I've got multiple maps to go to. Really like that. It's working out nice. And then it also has, you know, I can charge it with the USB, so the phone's always charged up. Works out well for me. Then we've got a Scott steering stabilizer. Scott's top of the line when it comes to the steering stabilizers, so went with that. BRP, their dampening, bar dampening isolation system. I forget their exact exact term that they use, but it's basically on rubber mounts, so it gives a vibration dampening on the bars, which is, as you get older, is very nice to have. Then we went with the again, Sick Ass Racing, the kill and start button, and it's a slimline one, so I no longer have a start button here and a kill button here, or vice versa. They're all married into one small switch, which is killer. Then AS3 makes the throttle cable. I had one cable that was worn a little bit, so I went ahead and upgraded to these, and they're orange, so this gives me, I don't know, at least 5 horsepower. I went with a G2 tube, and that helps with the jerkiness of the throttle response. It's got a different machined curve to it, so it lessens this throttle response down low. Then we've got the Acerbis tank. I went with the 3.1 Acerbis tank in the natural, and I like the natural. I personally like the looks, but you can also see how much fun you have left, and right now our fun is right about here, so we have a lot of fun left to be had today. So we come around the front, we've got the radiator guards. These radiator guards are from a company called Best Dual Sport Bikes. I don't think he sells these anymore, but they're pretty nice. They're pretty beefy, and they've got something on here that I really like. They have a bracket across here that marries the left to the right and gives it a little bit more strength, and it allows it to hang down below the radiator itself. Some radiator guards stop here and they don't actually go to the bottom of the radiator, and so your radiator can still get dented or banged up. So I like how these come down a little bit lower. So like those radiator guards. Then we've got the P3 header shield. I had that on my 350, really liked it. They're a great company. So we did it here on the 500 as well. Molecule skid plate. Again, I had this on the 350, worked out really nice. I don't know the material, but it is, they say that when you ride over a rock or something like that and it gets gouged, it's actually slicker than in its natural form. That's their claim. I don't know. We got just a Tusk foot pedal end on there. And again, it's orange. Got to have it orange. We have a aluminum aftermarket clutch cover. Now that was on there when I purchased it, and I can't find this particular one out there right now online. So I don't know if it is discontinued or not. I believe this also came from the Best Dual Sport bikes. Same one that made the radiator guards. This is nice that it's aftermarket. It's heavy duty. It's aluminum, and actually, billet aluminum. And this bottom piece is reinforced. The stock cover is susceptible to falling over. A rock hits it and it puts a hole in the case. So with this being sturdy up here, durable, and also down here being reinforced to where if the pedal gets pushed into this, it's not going to crack the case. That's some insurance that you like to have when you're back out in the woods someplace, or you're way out in the middle of Death Valley and you lay it over on a dumb layover and it pops a hole in the case. So clutch cover. Then we went with the bulletproof dual sport pegs. They're longer and wider than your stock pegs, so that gives you some creature comfort on your feet when you're on for those long rides. Stake pegs. I had these on a 300 that I owned, and once I got used to them, I really liked them. I stand up a lot on this bike, so it helps lock you into the bike with your boot. So I'm liking them so far. If you're not wearing boots, however, these pucks can be a little aggressive on your calf. So maybe these are only on when I know I'm going for a long ride and I'm going to be wearing my motorcycle boots. Around town, that's only 2 bolts. Comes right off if I just want to roll around town without them. But anyway, stake pegs. Then we got the stock exhaust. Stock exhaust, again, this was one of the things that was on when I purchased the bike. And I believe, again, this is from the Best Dual Sport bikes. And he calls it a power end cap, I believe is what they call it. It's a little bit louder than stock, but it's not like an FMF slip-on, which is fine by me. It makes good sound, but it's not obnoxiously loud either. So I do like that. Then we come down to the rear tire, which is, again, the Aerotrax Super Enduro R. And this is a DOT tire. I believe it's a DOT. I'm pretty sure it was a DOT tire. So they have real small lugs on it. You know, I just wanted to try them out. I know now I won't buy them again. I mean, this tire hasn't got hardly any miles on it, and it's already, you know, pretty wore down. So I'll go with something better next go around. And again, we got the KKE wheel hub assembly with a new rotor on it. Went with a Tusk shark fin. Tusk makes really good products, so we went with Tusk. What else? Taco Moto tie detail. Got rid of the big bulbous turn signals that hang off and get broke off the first time that you lay the bike over. And they put it all into the single tail light, left and right turn signal, all in this little bracket right here, kind of protected by the rear fender. Really like this tie detail. And then the Enduro plate, which is license plates attached to this piece of plastic, and then there's a piece of rubber that attaches the plastic piece here and the plastic piece that the license plate's attached to. And there's some magnets on there to keep it from bouncing around when you're going down the road. But in the event you take a, you loop it out or something, this thing will move out of the way. Love the Enduro plate. Great idea. Saved my license plate numerous times on my 350. Then down here, we went with the Dirt Tricks rear sprocket, again in orange. Then the TM Design chain guide. That's just a beefy chain guide, beefier than the stock one. And then I went with the bulletproof swing arm guide. Now, not stock, just the way it's manufactured. This swing arm comes out and there is a tab that hangs down here and then 2 tabs that hang down that the chain guide is bolted to. If you take a side load from this, rock hits it, or you run into a rock, it will break these tabs off. So I went with this bulletproof swing arm guide, and it just gives more rigidity, more strength to these little weak tabs. Then we went with a Dirt Tricks dome washer. That's better than the stock dome washer, made out of a different kind of metal is what I'm told, and it doesn't flatten out over time like the stock one can. The fuel rail is a different fuel rail, more of a straight flow into the fuel injector, whereas the stock one, it comes into a 90 degree, so there's some restriction in the flow. So it's got the straight or almost straight flow fuel rail. Aftermarket fuel filter, a larger fuel filter. And then we went with the Polysport Nardo Gray plastics all the way around. And finally, Omi Designs did the graphics. He's been doing the graphics for the last, I don't know, 3-4 years for all of my bikes. And he does a really good job. So shout out to him for the graphics. Seat concepts. This is almost a must. If you're going to buy a brand new bike, swapping out the stock seat is almost the first thing you do, because the stock seat is not comfortable. And then under here, we have a Vortex 10 ECU. And I tell you, this bike runs so good with that Vortex. I know that's an older technology. I had the Git ECU on my 350. I went with the Vortex, and this bike runs so well. So pretty happy with the way the bike turned out. Looking forward to putting some miles on it, and yeah, really looking forward to it. All right, well, stay tuned for the next one, and until then, we'll see you out on the trails.